The year was 1921. Madrid was racing toward the future, carving out its first metro line beneath the city. Deep underground, workers building the Tirso de Molina station struck something unexpected. Bone. Not just one, but dozens. Tangled skeletons, unearthed in the dust and darkness. These were monks, friars from a long-lost religious order, buried together in a forgotten crypt. The workers, many deeply superstitious, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground air. Whispers spread. They had disturbed sacred ground. The oppressive energy in the tunnels grew heavier with every shovel of earth. City officials faced a dilemma. Progress could not stop, but the remains could not be ignored. The decision: move the bones, re-enter them elsewhere in the station walls. But the workers believed this was a desecration, a violation that would not go unpunished. They felt watched, haunted by unseen eyes in the darkness. The metro would open on time, but the men knew they had awakened something that would never rest. Madrid's newest station was built atop a tomb, and the city's future was now entwined with its haunted past. The silence of the crypt was broken, and a darkness began to seep into the heart of the city. The workers' fear was palpable. Their stories whispered in the shadows. The bones were sealed away, but the sense of unease lingered. The city had chosen progress over peace, and the consequences would echo for generations. The Tirso de Molina station was no ordinary stop. It was a gateway to the unknown. The dead had been disturbed, and the living would soon feel their presence. The metro's promise of modernity was now shadowed by an ancient curse. The ground beneath Madrid was no longer just earth. It was unhallowed. The city moved forward, but something in the darkness watched, waiting. The haunting had begun. To understand the haunting, we must look back centuries before the metro, when the ground beneath Tirso de Molina was home to the monastery of the Mercedarian friars. Founded in the 1500s, it was a place of prayer and devotion, its monks buried in a crypt beneath the stone floors. Legends tell of a catastrophe, fire or collapse that destroyed the monastery and entombed the friars. Over time, the city grew over the ruins, and the story faded into obscurity. When metro workers uncovered the skeletons, they had found the lost crypt. City engineers, seeking respect, built new crypts into the station walls, re-interring the bones within the very structure of the metro. They hoped this would bring peace, but instead, the monks' spirits were trapped in the walls. The station opened, commuters rushing through, unaware they walked through a tomb. The past was not buried, it was built into the city's future. The monks' rest was disturbed, and their presence would soon be felt. The city had tried to contain its history, but instead, it had given it a new home. The echoes of the monastery lingered, waiting to be heard. The haunting was inevitable. From the day Tirso de Molina opened, something felt wrong. Commuters reported sudden chills, a cold that cut to the bone. Night staff heard footsteps echoing through empty corridors, the faint sound of chanting, and the shuffle of sandaled feet. The feeling of being watched became overwhelming, an unseen presence lurking in the shadows. Workers refused to patrol alone, convinced the station was alive with something not of this world. Management dismissed the reports as nerves, but the stories grew more frequent and consistent. Cold spots, disembodied footsteps, and a sense of dread became routine. The station felt ancient, sorrowful, haunted by the monks whose rest had been disturbed. The warnings were clear, the spirits were not at peace. The haunting was no longer rumor, it was reality. The metro's newest station was now its most feared. The monks' presence was undeniable, their message unmistakable. The living had trespassed, and the dead were making themselves known. The city could not ignore the signs. The first disturbances were only the beginning. The warnings soon became apparitions. Passengers glimpsed shadowy figures in monks' robes at the edge of the platform, gone when they looked directly. Workers saw processions of robed figures vanish into thin air. Some reported monks waiting silently for trains that would never come, fading away before their eyes. Urban legends spread, people disappearing after entering the station at night, never seen again. No official records, just whispered stories, enough to keep locals wary. The monks were not just ghosts, they were guardians of a gateway, and sometimes they took people with them. Fear gripped the station. The last train ran nearly empty, passengers huddled together, eyes on the shadows. Spectral monks were now a visible threat, reclaiming their domain. Tirso de Molina was no longer a symbol of progress, but a place of dread. The dead were not resting, and the living were not welcome. The haunting was now a part of daily life. The station's reputation was sealed. The haunting intensified. The scent of burning incense filled the air at night, with no source to be found. Doors and ticket barriers opened and closed on their own. Destination boards flickered with strange, Latin-like words. Workers heard the echo of a Catholic mass, a choir singing, funeral bells tolling from the tunnels. Footsteps grew louder, sometimes right behind staff on empty platforms. Fear turned to panic. Veteran employees requested transfers or quit altogether. The stories spread beyond the metro, becoming one of Madrid's most terrifying secrets. The spirits were not just present, they were interacting, making their anger known. The haunting was now impossible to ignore. The city's attempt to contain the past had failed. Tirso de Molina was now Madrid's ghost station. As fear spread, the city turned to the church for help. A priest was brought in to perform a ritual of cleansing and exorcism. One night, after closing, he walked the station, swinging incense, sprinkling holy water, and reciting prayers for the dead. For a brief time, the station fell silent. The haunting stopped. Relief was short-lived. Soon, the cold spots, footsteps, and whispers returned, stronger than before. The ritual had not banished the spirits. It had only angered them. The monks' presence was now undeniable, their unrest more powerful. The city's modern solutions had failed against ancient forces. The haunting was now part of the station's identity. The living could not reclaim the ground from the dead. Tirso de Molina remained a place of fear and fascination. The darkness was here to stay. The legend was only growing. The failed exorcism cemented Tirso de Molina's reputation as Madrid's ghost station. The story became legend, passed down through generations. Locals warned never to wait alone on the platform at night. Thrill seekers and tourists flocked to the station, hoping for a glimpse of the supernatural. For many, the fear was real. Older metro workers and Madrileños avoided the station after dark. The spirits of the monks were believed to be trapped, resentful, and ever-present. The haunting was not just a story, but a living part of the city's fabric. Reports of cold spots, phantom footsteps, and shadowy figures continue to this day. Tirso de Molina stands as a monument to Madrid's forgotten history, a place where the modern world collides with ancient tragedy. Deep beneath the city, the station holds its secret. The ghosts of the monks wait in the tunnels, forever bound to their unhallowed ground. The legend endures, as chilling now as it was a century ago. The haunting of Tirso de Molina will never be forgotten.